Well, hello everybody. This is Jared here with Stampede Blue, and typically you've seen me make your post-game wrap videos. Every week after the game, I make a short video to kind of telling you what happened during the football game and how I kind of saw it, since I'll watch them live or be at them live. And I've decided to have my business sponsor a segment here on Stampede Blue called Jared Bets the NFL. And I want to start out by saying, and this is in no way gambling advice. And I did a little bit of research, but largely this is just my opinion. So when I surmise that something's going to happen, just understand that, hey, I did enough research to kind of back up what I was saying. So last week, for the record, we won our bet. So we bet a 5-line parlay. We took 5 teams against the spread and won about $1,200 and change. So we started off with basically with $50, and we just bet it on a 5-line parlay and won. So now that we've made a little back on that money, of course we would love to continue to do this, because it's helpful for Stampede Blue, with sports betting legal in Indiana and a large portion of Stampede Blue's audience coming from Indiana. You're gonna have the inkling to bet, and I want to tell you that Vegas wins, the house wins. You can't go into this thinking you're ever gonna make money, and I don't want to give any of you the impression that I'm putting out any content that you should take seriously. Most of the stuff I'm saying is complete supposition and loosely based on data. And in fact, every week I make a bet that I know is against what my data tells me. And I'll start out by telling you, this week I bet the Colts to win on the road. And the reason I bet them to win on the road is I could have taken them against the spread. I could have looked at the data and acknowledged that Tennessee is ranked higher than the Colts in terms of defense. They're ranked third, while the Colts are 21st, and offensively they're right there with the Colts. But I think that the outcome of the Titans game is misleading because of things that are not football related. With the Browns, they just had a meltdown and gave up in the end of that game. There were 28 points scored in a little over a quarter. That was a 2-point football game until 2 minutes left in the third. So I just think that the outcome is misleading. I feel like the Titans are kind of riding high, but they are without Taylor Lewan. The Colts are expecting to get Jabal Sheard back, and I just think this is bad news for the Titans at home. And I figure if the Colts are going to beat the Titans, it's going to have to be without Taylor Lewan, because I feel like Lewan is a good, sort of gatekeeper for that franchise, kind of holding them together, keeping them playing good football. So that with that in mind, I'm opening up by telling you that the bet I made this week went against what the data tells me. The data tells me Tennessee is going to win, but I took the Colts to win on the road because I was getting good odds to take them, and I'm a Colts fan. And even though I don't know enough to say certainly, I know enough when to take a bet and say that's a good use of the spirit of gambling, right? If you're gonna gamble, you can't just. There's no way you get this right all the time. So we're going into it accepting, like, hey, every now and then we're just gonna lose. But in the spirit of gambling, we take the Colts to win in Nashville. This is a game that we were supposed to be at. My wife and I were supposed to go. We're in the process of starting the brick and mortar portion of our business, so we're just not going to be able to make it this weekend. So if you see this and you're just finding that out, I'm sorry. But really, I feel like if the Colts are going to get a win against the Titans this year, it's going to have to be without Taylor Lewan, and it's going to have to be now. And I feel like the Colts played a really good football game last week and absolutely should have won that game in regulation and didn't. So I get it that I come off sounding like a homer up front, and that I don't really trust the outcomes week one in terms of how I feel about teams. So if I don't trust the outcomes, then I feel more comfortable gambling. I feel like the Colts have a better running game. I feel like they're better coached. I feel like they're a more complete roster. And like I said, I just have a feeling that if they're going to catch fire, it's going to be this week where Tennessee comes in all puffed up off a big win against the Browns. And I have a feeling that this is one of those outcomes that this is why you gamble, right? And then I also think that Seattle, having had a tough game last week where Seattle did everything wrong and won against the Bengals, the Steelers did lose 33-3. And I don't necessarily, again, we don't really trust outcomes from week one, but when you only score 3 points, makes it real difficult to think that playing against Seattle the next week isn't going to help. Does that make sense? So I have a feeling that Seattle has an opportunity to go in here and really put the skunk on Pittsburgh. And then the Vikings play in Green Bay in Lambeau Field against the Packers. And again, I feel like the Packers 10-3 victory over the Bears was kind of misleading, right? I think Mitch Trubisky played really poorly, and I feel like it didn't push Aaron Rodgers to do too much. And I think if there's an opportunity here again for a road upset, technically the Vikings are ranked right there next to Green Bay. And I rely a little more on the output of the Vikings defense than I do the Packers defense. So for that reason, I just think the Vikings are more machine-like. They remind me of the LA Rams. And I get it. Lambeau's a mysterious place to play. Aaron Rodgers at home is usually a sure thing. But I feel like, you can't win them all, right? And that I'm saying too, like Aaron Rodgers taking a loss at home to a very good Minnesota team is not out of the ordinary. That would be a big statement wins back to back for the Packers if they were. And then I think there's an opportunity there for the Saints to beat the Rams on the road. And this is another situation where the Saints defense is what I'm betting on. Their offense I'm not worried about. I know I have full confidence that Drew Brees is one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. And it's not that I don't have faith in Jared Goff. I don't have Drew Brees level faith in Jared Goff. And I feel like Sean McVay and McDermott, respectively, are two of the best quarterbacks, or two of the best head coaches in the NFL. And I feel like this will be one of those games that comes down to the wire, just like it's been. And I just think the Saints get that early payback on the road, and that $50 bet wins us $1,733.98. So we bet on 4 outcomes: the Colts, Seahawks, Vikings, and Saints, all to win on the road. And this has been Jared with Stampede Blue, and this has been Jared Bets the NFL.